What up, my good people? We back at it again. Another week of talking some college football with my boy L Train in the building.
What up?
We had a nice week 7 of the season, which had some headliner games, some big time matchups, and it lived up to the billing. There was a lot of good football this past Saturday. Looking forward to another big week this weekend. But yeah, the college football was in full effect. Great games all last Saturday.
Yeah, the only complaint I have is I need ESPN and all partners to stop jumbling up all the good games at the same time. Like that 7:30 slot was like just packed going from one game to the next game to the next game. I
Yeah,
mean, you
I feel like the schedule's been decent, like spread, because it's like you have the early, yeah. Well, like I say, what happened last week was just you had a lot of good matchups that kind of were
yeah,
on later, but I mean they spread it out to where it was about as good as it could be. I mean, like I say, you're always going to have 3 or 4 matchups kind of on at the same time. Usually, that
yeah,
early window is usually the weakest window, maybe sometimes, and then obviously it ramps up at 3:30. You might have too many 3:30 matchups, but I mean, think about it. At 3:30, you had Red River and you had Penn State USC, so that's like
yeah,
2 good games to watch. And then there was another one you could flip on. But then at night, obviously, you had the headliner with Oregon and Ohio State, and then obviously Gator fans. We were watching the Gators play at the same time, and then you kind of
yeah.
had LSU Ole Miss. So it was like there was like 3 right there, but then you could throw in a handful of
I mean,
other.
but even for me, even the week before, it felt like I needed like 9 TVs at the seven
Yeah,
o'clock slot, and
well,
it's just like,
no,
man,
well, I heard when I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast with my boy Bud Elliott, they were talking about, yeah, you could have the multiple setup. I had the 3 TV setup going. I was like, the Gator game. Obviously, I wanted to pay attention to that, but I really wanted to, keep an eye on that Oregon Ohio State game,
mm-hmm.
and then I wanted to have even a little bit of eyes on that LSU Ole Miss game. So I had the 3 TV set up, and then if you want to do the multi box with YouTube TV and have the 4 games, you got multiple games on. But like they said on their pod was like, if
It's
you're
too
watching more than 4, if you're watching more than 4 games at one time, you ain't watching college football.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
ain't
too
watching the
much.
game. So
Yeah,
it's like
it's too much.
watching 2 games is already hard enough when you're kind of zoned in on one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt myself obviously gravitating towards the Gator game more.
For sure.
But I had Oregon, Ole Miss, or Oregon and Ohio State right there. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like I can't be like I'm zoned in. All right, well I'm going back and forth. So you're gonna play for play. But it hell, there's just too many good matchups.
Yeah.
So at
No,
least
it was a
we'll.
good it was a decent weekend. It wasn't crazy like the week before, but hey, it was still an enjoyable weekend, especially when South Carolina and Alabama kicked it off. But we'll start with our local team first before we move
Yeah, yeah,
into around the
yeah.
country.
Your two boys were on the bye week. The Knowles and the Canes took the week
Yeah.
off to rest up,
Needed it.
recuperate, get
Yeah.
some injury health.
Mm-hmm.
I think Florida State needed a break from all those losses they've been taking. So we'll see if they can bounce back. But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously the only team that played was the Florida Gators going to Knoxville. Didn't have a lot of optimism of winning the game, but you get in that game and the way the game starts going, you're like, okay, hey, we're hanging around. Uh, Kudos to the defense again, man. Defense, I don't know. Since the bye week, they've figured some things out. I don't know if they're changing the play calling duties from Austin Armstrong. They said obviously he might not be calling plays because he doesn't have a sheet, but he's on the field now, not in the booth. But the defense has been a lot more
I mean,
aggressive. Obviously,
maybe was it Ron English? Whoever
Roberts,
Ron Roberts. Well, maybe
yeah,
he's
from
calling the
Auburn.
plays, but Armstrong's bringing the intensity on the sideline to get the guys fired up and get them
Yeah,
playing because
maybe that's the case.
they are playing way better. Where they're playing physical. Like I said, Pyburn being back has helped a lot too. So it looks like they're being more gap sound, more physical. They had Nico, with the happy feet. I don't know what the deal is with Nico these last couple of weeks. I just know it's just
He
better
looks very
defenses.
average.
I think it's just
Yeah,
better defenses and better schemes he's going against. Um, I thought the reason why you guys lost was a lot of that on coaching. You can't have 4 or 5 red zone
hello,
trips in the first
hello.
half and just get 3 points. Now the Mertz fumble. That was just a hell of a play by James Pierce, one of the
Yeah.
best leaders in the country. But still, and then at the end of the 12 come on, man. How many times are we going to say this? Every game, there's like a special teams blunder. Like you have that. Some teams don't even have that in 5 years. What you guys have had in the last 15 games.
Allegedly we have a mat with 11 circles on the sideline that everyone stands in before they go out.
Because that was going to be
one of the things.
That was going to be one of the things I was going to talk about. Because I remember when I was in college, we had the mat with the dots. To, you get your teams ready. Hey, it's third down. Offense, get ready. You didn't have to stand on the dots for the offense, but you got your packages in, and you pretty much knew who was going in, who was out, or whatever. But on the special teams, you just can't keep making those mistakes. Those 3 points could have been the difference in the game.
No, for sure. And like I say, DH, he wanted us to kick the field goal on the first fourth down play, where we ran the jet sweep. Like I say, the Gators, they played about as well as they could play player wise. Coaching F that shit up. So, like I say, we've seen this song and dance enough. Billy Napier has been dead in the walking. Yeah, I wanted him to win the game. He's definitely not going to be the Gators coach next season. All good and well. Good riddance. Good luck to you and your $26 million or however much you're going to get from the University of Florida. But yeah, it was the beginning of the game where you're just like, all right, defense is getting stops.
Mm-hmm.
They get the early turnover, you get a drive, you get points. All right. Then, you're kind of stopping them. They can't get things going. Then you have 2 pretty good drives where you get inside the red zone.
They were moving the ball between the 20s.
And, it's just like, okay, let's literally, it's like 4th and an inch, man. I'm talking about inches. So literally I'm asking David, I'm like, all right, this is DJ's drive too. So you're like, okay, we got our big 6'4", 240-pound quarterback here. I was like, we got to go quarterback sneak right here, right? We got to go, do we go tush pull? Or do we go like Trevor Lawrence, Armstrong, like Lance Armstrong, over the top, just real quick with him, just get the 1 yard.
Just get behind the big boys and get some push and fall forward.
Instead, he wanted to, he was being super conservative, like, let's just take the 3 here. Let's go 6-0. I'm like, I feel you on that, but I'm like, we can get this. And then we run the dumbest play call on earth. I mean, yes, I can't fault you for like, okay, let's try to edge it here with our speed guy, but it's just like, let's keep it simple, stupid.
Not just your speed guy that just came back from an injury.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, he probably could have tried.
That was his first touch of the game too.
He probably could either tried to turn it up, but Tennessee played it perfect. Like you can't even put it on the kid. I put it more on the play call.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100% the play call. And then, like I said, you come back. And again, this is the whole thing of situational awareness, in my opinion, the way he's doing the whole quarterback swap thing. Like now you're at not even fourth down, it was 2nd, 3rd down, whatever, 1st and goal from the 1. And instead of putting Lagway in on that particular play, because he is your bulldozing big boy quarterback, I get it. Mertz, he can probably do it. What killed Mertz on that was his 2nd and 3rd effort to like try to muscle it up. Like his literally leg was about to go down. He goes extra push, and then Pierce made a play.
And that's the thing. You can't even be mad at him for the effort.
I'm not mad at him. It's just like
no. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying as a Gator fan. And James Pierce just made a hell of a play to not give up on it and say, "Oh, he scored," and ripped it out. And how his shin did not go down is still
that's what I'm saying. He gave that extra push from his when he had his foot in the turf. And like I say,
that whole sequence was weird. Like the fumble, then Hypo goes for it on 4th and 1. Then the Gators get a pick.
You
get a pick, and then you still can't score.
Well, the problem with that too is we get the interception, and then we have a decent first play, and then literally we had to call timeout. And I think 30 seconds ran off the clock because we're idiots and we can't get the play in. And then we got a miscommunication with Badger. It was Badger.
Yeah, it was Badger.
And
down at the bottom.
And basically, we had to call timeout. And then we ran a play, and it didn't do anything. And so then on 3rd down, we got sacked. So now you got a fire drill. Get the kicker out there. Let's kick a late field goal. You run one guy on too late, and then you get the 3 points taken off the board. It's just like
On third
They
down.
had
See,
they were in the red zone 4 times and had 3 points,
here's the
man.
problem. But Sponge, here's the problem I have. All right. Second, it's second down. You ran the second down play. Third down, the coaches on the sideline are supposed to be yelling, "Field goal team, get ready." Like
Yeah, for sure.
you should be already counting and just saying that whoever the
Well,
coach is that's
they
responsible.
did a pretty good job of getting out there and getting it up. They just ran one too many guys out there, and
But
I don't know,
that's what I'm
I don't know
saying.
where the miscommunication. Like I say, because they had, it seemed like they were good to go, and then they ran. I think George came on late, to make it the 12th man. Because hell, it wasn't like the Arkansas game. It was pretty much a repeat of that.
Yeah.
They got out there, and it's like if you would have had just 11 on there, boom, you got out there on time. You kick the field goal, and you make it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great, good job. But it's like, how do we not, like you say, hell, on first down, we're down here. All right, guys, let's get our field goal unit ready to go because we might have to kick a late field goal here in the last minute
Especially
here.
with the time. Yeah, especially with the time, you should be getting
Because
ready.
it was already down to where it was like this is going to be either a touchdown drive or possibly a field goal. We might not have a timeout to get set
Right.
up. So so again, the play calling, was horrendous. Like even going all the way fast forward, like what's crazy was Mertz. You feel super bad for him when he gets that his injury. A lot of people thought it was on the celebration after the touchdown. He kind of was bouncing and kind of like tweaked his knee, but apparently it was on the run that he scrambled like a couple plays before, and he kind of like when he juked, I think he got his foot caught in the turf and just you really couldn't see it, but he hopped up and played the next play. But it was just like unfortunate because really and truly Mertz has been playing really solid since the Mississippi State week. Like he's been completing balls at a high percentage, not turning the ball over. He hadn't really been throwing it downfield, but he's been doing enough again, kind of like last year, to where drives are extended. You're able to run multiple and be able to run and throw. And then you kind of mix in DJ, and he's had good drives too. So it was like you look at this game, and it was going well, obviously. And then, boom, he gets the injury. So, it's all on DJ after that. And then DJ was putting a couple bad, spots where he was, field position wise on a couple of his drives where it's like.
He's still a freshman, and he's
exactly.
he just that one play where the corner kind of like pulled remember the whole video with Jalen Johnson where he said he baited the quarterback to make the throw. I felt like that pick he had was kind of in that situation. I mean, he's just a freshman; he's going to figure it out. But then even the going for the 2, I was just like, "Hey, you go for the win. What do you have to lose?
Well, like I say, that was the other thing. Like he throws, he does that. Like he calls that play for DJ where he absolutely steps up and throws a freaking dime to to basically set it up to tie the ball game, and then ultimately right there, it's like let's put the nail in the coffin, dude. I don't want to go to overtime.
No,
I was like, dial up your best 2-point play.
Well,
instead he wants to get all fancy and run like 5 linemen to the left just so Tennessee uses a timeout. And he thought that was so funny that he was able to get him to do that. And it was just like
I just felt like one, your job's probably if you're trying to keep your job, this is probably one way to try to keep your job. If you beat your rival on the road at night, and even if you lose, you're still getting fired. So it's like, why? What are we doing here? For the most part. And we didn't watch the game together, but we were sporadically texting because there was just so much going on, and I just felt like, hey man, put Tennessee on the ropes, because at no point during that game, even though you guys were playing great, I was like, somehow Tennessee's still going to win this game. It was just trending that way. It just felt like Florida's playing out of their mind right now in this environment, and they just can't get in the end zone. They can't put threes up. They can't. They just couldn't do enough to put, to get points on the board. And I was like, that's still a high-powered offense on the other side of the field, even though they didn't look like it. For 2 drives they did, but they really didn't look like it for majority of the game. And it's like, man, just like you said, put the nail in the coffin and put the pressure on them to get down the field to kick the game-winning field goal.
Well, the other thing too was, you come right there and you lose the toss so you got to go first. The play call on first down was terrible. And that sets you up to be behind the chains already. You know, you're 2nd and 10 because they basically try to shot play. And when you watch the tape, like the play was never going to work, dude. It was literally a 1-on-1, really a 2-on-1 because the safety never had to have a threat. And you're literally throwing at their best corner. And you try to run like almost like a little post corner, like a little, you know, and he basically tried to drop it in between two guys. He wasn't open. I mean, DJ threw it to about the best spot you could throw it, but like the corner was easily able to circle back and cover it up with the safety coming over the top because guess what? There was no other threats. Boardingham ran like an inside sit route. You had Trey Wilson do the infamous motion across to the other side for nothing.
The same play.
And so literally you're 2nd and 10, and then you run like a quick little screenplay. Then it's 3rd and long, and then you get a false start, and then it's like what missed field goal, game over. You know, it's
the crazy thing is like you've been hearing all these pundits and insiders say the reason why they don't fire Billy is because they don't have it. He's the offensive coordinator and head coach.
Right. Yeah.
Screw it, man. His play calling, anyone on that staff could do the same shit he's doing.
Yeah.
At this point,
I mean,
the plays are
I guess I would let Billy G maybe run the plays, run the offense. I don't even know. I don't even know who would run it
because it's like he's like, oh, well, they're gonna run a reverse at some point. When has there been a game where you guys have not run a reverse or a jet sweep out of the same motions?
Jet sweeps are that's his thing for sure.
And
like I say, the other thing that really hurt was the fact that what's funny is again DH's boy Montrell Johnson. He loves Montrell. Montreal was ripping runs, man. He was running physical hard.
Yeah, he ran somebody over.
When he got hurt, it's like we still had some guys, but it's just like he had a purpose Saturday night. He was just running the ball different.
Oh, that's the purpose we haven't seen in how long?
Yeah, I don't know if
he hadn't really ran like that in a long period of time.
Hell no, and I don't know if he's finally was feeling good or what, but you know, losing Mertz and him at kind of at the same time definitely put the offense on edge to where it was like, all right, you know, DJ, you got to make some plays. The other guys are going to have to step up. Like I say, the wild thing too is, you know, when you look at stats, and you know we talk about stats, and Badger and DK have been obviously, you know, huge, pleasant surprises. Yeah. They rank 5th and 6th. They rank 5th and 6th in the SEC in yards per catch. You know, so like I say, they're what is it? They're averaging 18 and 8. They're both basically averaging 18 yards a catch. You know, so they're almost an explosive every time they catch it. So it's like the offense should be pretty good. You know, Mert's been playing good. You got DJ down, it's all yours. You know, Badger and DK, obviously 2 of the better receivers right now, and then you're not even throwing in. You got Trey Wilson, who's been kind of up. So you got 3 guys with the running game. Like the offense needs to be better. It needs to be better.
I think that's just it's between the 20s. It's between the 20s.
Yeah.
Clearly, if you had 4 red zone opportunities,
I guarantee you. I don't know the stat, but hell, I don't even know because I don't even feel like we were in the red zone against you guys or Texas A&M. So that was, and then I know we scored chunk plays against Mississippi State. You know, so like I say, it's I can't put my finger on like just everything in general. It's all bad. Like I say, fire his ass after this week. You know, Kentucky game, then you get a bye week. Fire him before you go into the Georgia game, and then it just like I say, he's dead man walking. Yeah. And I want to see us win as many games as we can. You know, but the team has definitely come out with a better edge since that bye week. So it's like, all right, okay. You know, so you're like, can you play with everybody? I mean, we were talking about it too when Joe was over here, just how college football has become like kind of like the NFL in a sense where there's so much parity. And then on any given day, if you play well that day and maybe the other team doesn't or turns it over a little bit,
that's why I've been saying it all year. Like
you can be had. You can be had.
You got to worry about the week you're in. You can't look 2, 3, 4 down the weeks because you look at this past weekend. At the beginning of the season, before everything started, would we have said Ole Miss would have 2 losses right now?
Yeah, maybe probably say maybe 1. Yeah, maybe 1 is what you'd probably say.
But not 2. And they're pretty much out of the race, in my opinion.
Oh, they're done.
I think they're done.
They're done.
So Georgia's they're on that thin line.
Like I say, well, like I said, that's a prime example of like a team that, again, Mississippi State the last couple of weeks after the Gators wrecked them. It's not like they hung around against Texas, but I mean they scored more points than we would have thought they would have, and
Yeah,
then to lose by 10 to Georgia, where they scored 31. Now you're like,
exactly.
man, what is going on with this Kirby defense?
Yeah,
It's just like, and not to say Mississippi State should have upset them, but like, again, Mississippi State is one of the lowly teams of the league and in the
not
country,
just the
and
league,
they
the country.
and, and they hung around. They hung around
Yeah.
with both of those guys. So
And that's what I'm saying. That's why you got to worry about week to week. Like you say, even Tennessee, those first 3-4 weeks, we're
yeah,
like, boy, this team's about to put up
yeah,
60 on everybody.
yeah,
And
totally,
I
totally.
think their problem is watching that game. I'm steady, like, you guys run the same 3 plays, which that's what they do. But why are you guys steady taking shot plays when you just need to muster up a drive? Like, first down, shot play. Second down, shot play. Now you're in 3rd and 10, and you're like, all right, we need a first down, and they do some stupid play, then they got to punt. Or
Yeah,
it's first down, Nico gets sacked because he has happy feet. Second down, shot play. Now you're in 3rd and long, and we got to try to figure it out. And I'm just sitting there watching the game like, as good as Florida was playing, I
mm-hmm.
felt like Tennessee kept you guys in the game at the same
Oh hell
time
yeah,
with their
Tennessee.
play calling on offense.
Tennessee has been very underwhelming the
Yeah,
last couple weeks. You go back to the Oklahoma game. Everybody's like, "Oh, look at this big win at Oklahoma." We realize Oklahoma is not very good this year.
no.
Injuries. Obviously at the receiver spot
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been good for them. They switched up their quarterback. Defensively, they're pretty solid with Venables, but like they're terrible on offense.
Yeah,
And so they win that road game, Nico's first road test, and they're like, "Yeah, look Tennessee."
and
And
then
then
NC State's bad.
yeah, NC State's terrible, and that was like week 2. You
Yeah.
can't take out the Kent State and whoever they played
Mm-hmm.
week 1, and so now you look at I'm like Arkansas has been good, but has Arkansas been great? No, and so they basically get in that barn burner of a game with them and lose on the road. So now you're thinking, okay, Florida, like we've been kind of hit or miss. We got blown out by the good teams, so you're thinking, okay, the good teams are Miami and Texas A&M. You'd put Tennessee in that same sphere because they're all ranked in the top 15 basically.
Mm-hmm.
And no, if you compare them, no, Tennessee, you're not there, buddy. That's
No.
kind of what I want to see Saturday because
Yeah.
again, Bama's been a little bit like questionable the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
it's like everybody kind of has that question mark and that dark side of like,
Yep.
oh, we're not that good here.
Nope.
We're going to find out when we got to play teams who are on the same caliber. But
Yeah.
Tennessee, like I say, what sucks is this is one of those games that we talk about on the schedule that Florida's daunting schedule was. They could have stolen one, where they allegedly weren't better than. So, it's like,
Well,
man,
because
you let that one get away.
you look at it like this. If somehow you guys would have won that game going into this week's Kentucky game, you're sitting at what? If you beat Kentucky, you would have been what, 5-2?
Yeah.
5-2? And you're like, damn, man. Can the administration's probably sitting there like, can we really fire this guy at 5-2? Like,
No, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, it looked bad to start the season, but it's improved over the weeks. So as a Gator, it's like a double-edged sword, right? You kind of want him gone because you really don't see
Yeah,
him
yeah.
getting any better.
No, you
But
really don't. You really
in
don't.
all reality, like, he's not going to get recruits in there, the high-level guys, and it's just you don't want to prolong it one more year just because he got to a bowl game.
No.
But at the
Hell
same
no.
time,
Hell
as a
no.
fan, like you said, you wanted to win that game because that's one of your biggest rivals that you're
Yeah.
going
Well, like I
against.
say, the way I was saying too is like when you look at the season and you say, okay, as the season now has progressed and we're here, hypothetically, you beat Tennessee, you win that game somehow. Now you're coming back home to finally say, okay, let's get the demons out of this Kentucky thing. They beat us 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Let's win this home game. We're playing good D right now. Kentucky's offense is a mess. Their defense is obviously pretty good, but like you win that when you're 5-2 going into the bye. No expectations on beating Georgia. That's a loss. But then you look at the rest of the schedule. Out of the 4 games, 3 of them, I think, you can play with those teams, at least be in the ball game with Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida State. I don't think you're beating Texas and Georgia at all. Like, that ain't going to happen. But like Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida State, those are games that you kind of like the Tennessee game. If you play well enough, you can hang around, be in the game, pull an upset, whatever. Yeah. So like I say, the 7 wins would have been maybe possible, but or 6 wins to get to a bowl. But again, like I say, Billy is dead man walking, and it's like I don't want to see us lose to let him fire. I think he still gets fired, even if he would have won some of those games. So the only way he would have kept his job is if he would have won like 9 games or some crazy shit, which was never going to happen. But again, it's just like I hope the players just continue to play hard, just do what they do. Like it's like you say, it's turning the page on DJ Lagway time. Let's see him, progress, get better, and he's the quarterback of the future, hopefully. And we'll see what happens.
I think the rest of the way before we move on to the rest of this past week, it's for a lot of those guys, if they're not thinking this is audition tape the rest of the year. You're auditioning for the new coach and you're auditioning to hit the transfer portal to go somewhere else. If the kids, if it is what it is, it's a business now. Everyone just has to accept college football is a business. What these kids are doing is a business. I'm not saying professional. I'm saying you're making business decisions. So with your business decision now going forward, if you're DJ Lagway, who's fine, he's fine either way, stays, goes, or whatever, he's going to be fine.
Totally.
But if you're those other guys that are thinking, man, if Lane comes, I'm going to try to stay. But if they hire, just say Signetti from Indiana, I'm just throwing a name out there. You're like, man, I'd rather go somewhere else. So now the coaches are looking like, hey, even though they were in a bad situation, they knew their coach was going to get fired. This kid still went out there and played. Regardless if people want to say he's a quitter when he transfers, whatever. It's audition tape. And that's just how the kids got to look at it going forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I totally agree with that. And like that's where the next thing will be the whole coaching issue. We'll hop on that maybe at the back end, because I know now fans are so funny, because now it's like, do we really want Lane Kiffin? He's losing games with an elite roster, bro. Like, it's just like, what do you want, man? What do you want?
I mean, LSU was what, a couple plays away from winning that game that they lost earlier this year to South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, no, they won that game.
They won that game.
They lost LSU. Damn, who did they lose to again? Now, why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank as well.
Because they beat USC week 1.
Yeah. Because we thought they were on top of the world.
Who the hell did they lose to? I'm about to look it up because I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah.
It wasn't Kentucky, was it?
I mean, we're 7 weeks in and we're forgetting. We're forgetting games.
We've had too many good games. We've had too many good games. No, they only lost that one. They lost week 1 to USC, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's it.
They probably shouldn't have lost. They just couldn't.
They should have won that game.
They should have won that game, and I think the defense you're starting to see the old LSU defense start stepping up. Not like
LSU's got four sneaky tough games in a row. They got, now that we're here, they got at Arkansas this week, which would be tough coming off of that. Now, if Taylor Green's not playing, that's going to be tough. But then they turn around the following week and go to A&M. That's going to be a hell of a ball game. And then they play Bama, and then they play us. Three of those 4 on the road too, buddy. They're going to Fayetteville, to College Station, and to Gainesville. So again, we'll see where they're
out of that 3-1. You can't punish them for 2 losses.
Yeah, like I said, that's what I'm saying. 10-2 team, and then they close out the year, late on. But yeah, like I say, Gators, it is what it is. We'll talk about the Kentucky matchup here in a little bit. Obviously, the biggest game that we'll just hop into the big one that was last week was the Ducks pulling out a crazy, wild, back and forth finish to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I think we both obviously took Ohio State, so I think we were a little surprised with it. But not that Oregon's not a good football team. It's just kind of, we couldn't put their finger on them as well this year too. They had, a couple of those early games where they weren't really blowing people out. They had the nail biter kind of with Boise. Obviously, we see how good Boise is on our offense, but we kind of just couldn't put our finger on Oregon. Was it Gabriel? Was it the offense? What was going on? And for all intents and purposes, Gabriel played lights out. The offense played really good. And I think the story was both defenses were kind of like, where are the defenses? Where is this vaunted, alleged Ohio State defense that's like the best defense in the country? And, you know, Oregon kind of lit them up.
Yeah. I feel like I can't say the kid's name, JT Tilamalealo
Yeah,
and Jack
Tuamalo,
Sawyer have
the D
not done
lineman.
anything. The two DNs have not
Yeah,
done
yeah.
anything. I think
Yeah,
they
they didn't get
literally
pressure.
only
They didn't get pressure. They didn't get
no,
pressure on
no.
Gabriel.
I think they only had one sack in the game. And I think Oregon, every time it felt
They had
like
zero. They
Ohio,
had 0 sacks. They got no sacks.
yeah, so they haven't done anything. It's like
Yeah.
everyone's taunting these guys to be first round draft picks, and they haven't done anything. I felt
Yeah,
like every time,
the guy who allegedly was a first round pick, it probably lost himself some money. Denzel Burke, buddy.
woo,
Woo.
boy,
Dog got cooked,
mm,
fried,
eight,
roasted,
eight targets, eight
flambéed. Like
catches, 179 yards, and 2 TDs, no
they
PBUs,
were
no
like
picks.
dog. You got all these elite. You got all these elite receivers you're going up against in practice. Like,
Look, in high
what's going
school,
on?
when that guy's on the other side of the field, what do you say?
Yeah,
Circle the what?
he's
Circle the duck.
he's the Oregon Duck, baby. He's
Yeah,
the duck.
circle
Like
the duck, and you go
we're
after
going
that guy
we're
every
going
play.
at buddy. We're like buddy can't cover nobody. We're going at
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Like that's
To start the game though, I felt like Ohio State was trying to show their dominance, and when they put that score on the board, and then that fumble by Judkins, it was a 300-pound man's ripping the ball out. There's sometimes there's nothing you could do, and then they got the ball, scored. They didn't get the extra point, and I felt like that was the game just went back and forth. It felt like every time Ohio State was about to do something and pull away, Oregon would make a play, and they just kept going. And I thought they played a great game, but like I say, I just feel like we didn't know what was going to happen with Oregon. I feel like they just got up. It was a big game in Outson.
Yeah, 100%.
It's easier to get up for those games when you see Boise on Portland State and those teams. When you're a team like that, it's like, all right, we're gonna win. We got this guy, we got Gabriel, that guy. Because like you say, his numbers haven't been bad. But then when you say Ohio State's coming in, the intensity ratchets by 25, and you're ready to play. And they just found out a way. Question for you: what did you think about the PI, the offensive PI on Jeremiah Smith?
It could have been either way, but I mean, he's a big physical guy, so like, it just it looks different when it's him versus like a Tez Johnson or one of those like I say, it's one of those things where it could have went either way. But I'm going to be pro offensive guy, so let him get away with it.
I thought the defender kind of initiated it, and he just, I guess what it was, he just extended. If he wouldn't have extended the arms, he probably would have got away with it. But, and it was funny because like when I'm watching the game and trying to formulate notes or whatever, and I'm like, man, it felt like they didn't go to Jeremiah Smith enough. And then when you look at the numbers and you're like, well, I was wrong on that. Yeah, what, 9 catches, 8 or 9 catches?
9 for 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, and even Emeka had 10, so that was 19 receptions from those two guys for 193 yards.
Right.
So it's like
big plays from D. Scott at the tight end position.
Yeah, he had a couple of big catches too. Yeah, but like other than that, Tate only had 1 catch. I know he was coming back from injury, but you look at the numbers, like I say, they had 300 yards plus passing. They had 141 on the ground.
It was no really turnovers in the game other than the 1 pick.
Will Howard didn't throw a pick. Neither did Gabriel. Neither one threw a pick.
So I knew it wasn't many turnovers. I mean, clearly the 2 biggest plays everyone's going to remember is going to go ahead.
No, I was going to say the guy who really started cooking was Evan Stewart. Like he'd been kind of quiet all year. And I'm like,
had to after Holden did something dumb and got kicked out of the game for spit. Come on,
let's spit on the guy. Let's spit on this guy. Come on, man.
It's not just that, Sponge. He turned around and went
back. Hawk to it on his visor.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like in front of the refs, literally 2 feet away from you, and that's what you.
Yeah, they were like, to do? And then, like I say, the worst thing to do is spit on a guy with the visor because the evidence is right there
right
on the
there.
visor.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
yeah, I know what you're about to say. The penalty, the 12 men on the field that Dan Lanning,
That's just great
pulled the
coaching.
wool
I
pulled the
don't care
wool
what
over
anyone
everybody's
says.
eyes.
That's just great coaching.
1,000%, 1,000% great call. Like I said, they've already loopholed it and said no more of that. So
Yeah,
he
but
got
we
away
can't
with
fix
it, got the
we can't
win.
fix it. We can't fix the transfer portal. We can't fix
Yeah,
NIL. We can't, you go down the list of the things that the NCAA can't fix. But all of a sudden, within 3 days, we could change a rule. Like,
yeah,
don't be mad at him because he found the loophole. That was just great
yeah. No,
coaching.
I agree. When you come up with a little, wrinkle to basically be like, hey, we can run some clock here.
Right.
We'll take the 5 yards, and then again, without that being said, Will Howard, let's not run the ball and then slide. Let's
Yeah.
throw the ball. Like you can't. He pulled a Nico move from a week ago at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can't just freaking run it. You know what I'm saying? When you got no
It,
timeout,
it's game
like
situations, man. And like you say, it's just game situations. I just think,
Now Will Howard did have that terrible like fumble he had too, like where he
yeah,
just like dropped it. That was the one you're probably thinking of
yeah.
too, instead of the interception. But yeah,
Yeah, it's tough to
but listen,
criticize him in that
these
play.
two teams are these two teams are really really good. I think
Really
that's the
good,
other thing too. And guess what? I don't. If Ohio State would have won by one, I would have felt the same exact way. Like these
yeah,
two teams are really good.
really
They
good.
got to figure some stuff out on defense. And guess what? We'll probably see them for a
Play each
second,
other
possibly
again.
even a
Yeah,
third time. Exactly. So
I agree.
the way this college football, this new age college football, like this really no harm, no foul. Now you can't screw around and lose to somebody you're not supposed to,
Right.
in the
You can't.
meantime going. But
And in this one, I don't know if we're going to do our top 12. I did mine just in case. I really didn't punish Ohio State on a 1-point
yeah,
loss on the
yeah,
road. Like you can't really punish. You got to keep them in the top 5. Like
yeah,
yeah. But the next one, they can't lose the next one because we're starting to see, especially later on in the season, if you get that second loss, it may affect you versus
yeah,
if you got 2 losses at the beginning and then you just run the gauntlet the rest of the way. But
yeah.
we'll
No, for
see.
sure.
We'll see how it goes. I thought it was a really good game, and we both picked them to be in the Big Ten championship game at the end of the year in a
Yeah,
rematch. So hey, you just gotta.
I,
If you're Ohio
I think
State,
I had
you
them
just gotta
playing
win
3 times. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
out.
I agree. Like I said, we'll talk about the big takeaways. I won't throw the graphics up because we know Texas just blazed Oklahoma. Obviously the other game that was really really good was the
Well,
LSU Ole Miss game.
before you get into that, did you know going into this weekend? I'm going to ask you if you know the other 2 teams. It was 3 teams going into Week 7 that hadn't trailed at one point this year, and Texas was one of them. And OU jumped up 3-0 on them, but then it was lights out after that. Can you figure out
Yeah,
the last 2?
I got no idea.
2 of the most surprising teams. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I'll just give
it's
you
not
another
BY.
clue.
Is it BYU?
Nope.
BYU's trailed. I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you.
Army and
Navy, Army,
Indiana.
and Navy. I was about to say Army, Navy was going to be. Yeah,
Army and Indiana.
yeah. IU's been playing some good ball. Like
Yeah.
that was a good thing. I meant to send it to you and Joe. I'm sure you saw it when he was on Pat Mack yesterday. They were talking
Yeah.
about the
Big Daddy.
whole West
Yeah.
Coast, the whole West Coast, East Coast travel, and he was talking about. Did you see that part?
Yeah. Yeah. I watched the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's because when he's like, yeah, I got all these guys telling me like, oh, we got to do this, and here's the schedule. We need to go here, and fly in and be there on Thursday. So he's like, no, we're not doing that shit. We're gonna show up as late to the hotel as we can. We're
Yep.
gonna do our walkthrough at the school, show up late, get to the hotel, eat dinner, maybe do a little team meeting, go to bed, get up and play the game, kick their ass, and go home. So
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like,
Hey
okay. I'm
man,
like, okay.
he's they're 6-0.
Yeah.
What can you say right now? We'll see against Nebraska this week, but
Yeah,
right
I got a
now,
good matchup. That's gonna be a good matchup for
yeah,
sure.
they're 6-0. And even if they get 3 losses, just say if they finish 9-3, that's a hell of a year
Yeah,
for Indiana.
yeah. Indiana ain't been shit for a long time.
Yeah,
So ever,
yeah,
really,
exactly.
ever since
Yeah,
Bob Knight
but
was the coach.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, starting the day off was South Carolina and Bama.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was a
know
wild.
I don't know what's going
I,
on. Hey, if they had a better
I
quarterback,
know.
I like Sellers. He's going to grow. But if they had a more
Yeah,
experienced quarterback in those moments, they probably upset Bama.
Yeah, no, Bama was kind of in control. Then they kind of let South Carolina hang around. And then a couple big plays happen. You're like, what's going on here? And then especially late there where they, score late and then they get the onside kick. You're just like,
What a hell of a
and
kick.
then, yeah, that was pretty sick.
He put
It's
some
pretty
spin
sick.
on it.
But it was just kind of like, again, the defense for Bama has just not played well since the second half of that Georgia game. And, obviously it was a different style of play with Vandy the next week because their offense is so different. But
They're
it's
still
kind of like
running
want
almost the
to and
same.
will.
It's kind of a copycat league. I think teams are still picking what the other previous three teams have done and throwing their little wrinkle on it for the most part.
I heard something about Bama's trying to. There's an assistant out there trying to get named Rick Nabin. He's got like a mustache, kind of looks like Nick Saban, but his name's Rick Nabin.
Yeah, I saw that. But I mean,
but
Bama started 14-0. It was 14-0.
Yeah.
And then they just kept making mistakes. And next thing you know, it's 19-14.
Yeah. No, like I say, I can't put my finger on it. That's why this week's matchup with them in Tennessee is going to be, it's like who's coming to play what, So, but yeah, I thought Bama, they definitely got to figure some stuff out, But
they're lucky they got 4 at quarterback.
The other big game obviously was that 3:30 window. Was the other East Coast team going off to the West Coast, Penn State, USC, which was a pretty wild game too. And it just your boys from USC just found another way to lose. I don't know what, it's been heartbreak hotel for those guys. And like I said, I can't put my finger on them either. They come out that week one, play lights out against LSU, and then they look like ass against Minnesota.
Yeah,
losing a game.
Here's my thing. SC, Tennessee, Penn State. Why can't you figure out how to run Colorado, Kansas State, that game? You got to figure out how to run the football. If you can't run the football and take the air out of the football and kill some time, every time you put it in the air.
Well, Tennessee wants to run the ball, and they got a good back in Sampson, but yeah,
they couldn't run the ball. But I'm just saying, it feels like SC is just like, you know what, we can't run it. Screw it. Penn State, how they can't run it with those two backs is still beyond me. But they got behind, so they had to throw it.
Here's the thing. Look, I just pulled up the stats. They rushed for 189.
Yeah.
I mean, Woody Marks had 111 yards, and then the other guy had. I mean, obviously the numbers got big because he had the big 75-yarder. He had 82 total.
Explosives.
Yeah. I mean, even on the flip side, Penn State, with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, you would think they would be able to run it like they want to, but they only rushed for 118. I mean, Aller, my boy, threw for 391 in the game. So
look at Tyler Warren's numbers, the tight end.
Yeah, he had 1 for 1, 9 yards.
No.
Receiving. Yeah, I know. 17 catches
for 224. That is crazy.
That is wild. He had a couple. The one touchdown catch he had was how the hell did he catch that ball?
Just give him the Mackey Award right now. Just give it to him.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
just give him the Mackey Award right now.
Yeah, 391, 224 to one guy. Your tight end, not even. Penn State.
I think a lot of that.
I can't believe. I know we both are. It's not like I'm a Penn State lover or anything, but it's just are they really the number 4 ranked team in the country?
I don't think so. I mean, they were 14 down, so you had to throw the ball. When you get behind the 8 ball like that, you got to throw the football. They were 14 down. USC was kind of that, and that's what I was saying, where they couldn't run the football. I'm not saying you got to get in the I formation and run every down. All I'm saying is when you're up 14, you got to be able to mix that run in with the pass, get that clock moving, get that 10, 15 play drive, because now you're keeping your defense fresh and you're putting them behind the 8 ball to say, hey, we're killing this clock, but we're still moving the ball and we're still putting points up. You better figure it out.
Yeah, the vaunted USC defense finally showed up to give up 500 total yards on offense. But yeah, like I said, that was a wild game, and then the other overtime night game, that LSU Ole Miss game was nutso too, because we got to watch basically the fourth quarter of that one because the Gator game had ended, the Ohio State game had ended, so we tuned in on that, and it was just like Nussmeier making some hella fucking throws. I mean, he was throwing some darts
Well,
out there.
it happens. It's great when you have a great passing offensive
No,
line.
that I will say that too. LSU's O line for pass protection
Is
is
legit.
A1.
Yeah,
It's,
running
I mean,
the football.
he's stepping up, moving around, just all
Yeah,
time to throw, and then boom.
yeah. Their rushing attack is not great. I think they only had
It,
like
no,
50
it,
yards,
it had
but
84 total yards.
yeah, but their passing game, like I said, that old line, they're not letting him get touch, and that's what they did with Will Campbell at left tackle. It's a master class when you watch them week in and week out in their pass sets. And then in the overtime, Ole Miss, you can't get a penalty on first down. You
Yeah,
can't get a false start on second down. You can't throw an
yeah,
incomplete pass on third down that was almost picked. You had to kick the field goal, and then one play, one drive, that was a laser he threw to Lacey.
yeah,
Nussmeier did to
yeah.
win the game. But
No,
I
for
mean,
sure. They're like
and then Ole
up
Miss with
top.
12 penalties.
Yeah.
How are you going to win?
No, like I say, it's kind of weird. I can't, like I say, I don't know. A lot of people are talking about Lane Kiffin's already checked out. He's not coaching for
Yeah,
Ole
I saw
Miss
that too.
anymore, and I mean, it may be the case, but I mean, it's not like they're getting blown out in these games. They just didn't play very well, down the stretch. You can't make those critical mistakes in overtime.
Nope.
They just didn't play well against Kentucky, and they've got two losses combined 6 points, two 3-point losses. So it's like
Yeah.
a play here, a play there, and Ole Miss is number 4 in the country at 7-0. But
Yeah.
again, like you look at Ole Miss's schedule, knowing they still got to play Georgia. I mean, that's you talk about potentially wanting to try to get back in. That's the only they got to run the They got to run the schedule, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
I think they can, but
I,
we'll see.
I think they can too because I think they're better than Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So what it boils down to is, can you beat Georgia? And guess what? That game's in Oxford, so you don't have to go to Sanford Stadium. But
And
again, 1 week at a time. But
like I said, when you look at those numbers, when you look at the numbers Ole Miss had from this previous week, and you're just like, how did you guys lose this game? Like they really didn't turn the ball over. They were able to move the ball up and down the field. And what was it? I think they only scored 10 points in the second half. It was 17-13 at the half.
yeah,
So
yeah, they had 10.
you gotta score more than 10 points in the second half to put teams away,
No,
especially.
they only had 6 points, and they had 2 field goals in the third and fourth quarter.
Oh, 6 points. Yeah, exactly. You can't win like that.
Yeah, they basically scored 9 points from the second half, concluding overtime.
Yeah, that's
You got to
bad.
get in the paint
Yep.
somewhere. Like I
Yep.
said, they had 284 yards passing, 180 yards rushing. It's not like again.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those classic LSU Ole Miss ball games, and it was good stuff. But all right, dog. Let's jump on into this week's ball games. We'll start with your Miami Hurricanes, baby. Got a big one finally against the Louisville Cardinals, who are kind of in a little bit of a struggle fest, I would say. But coming off a bye, you got to be feeling pretty good.
Mm,
Hopefully, this is not
mm,
the
mm.
MO of your bye week come off game.
3-11.
But
3-11
yeah,
coming off the bye. The key to this week is, can they start fast? When I say fast, can they just not get behind by 20 plus points? Jalen
I don't
Rivers
see
is
that
back.
happening. But yeah,
Yeah, Jalen Rivers is back. The thing with Louisville, they do a lot of eye candy stuff. They test your discipline on when you're on defense. They're going to get some plays. The Canes got to shore up that back end of the defense and not give up all those explosives they've been giving up. And the offense just got to be the offense. And Cam just can't turn the ball over and put the defense in bad situations. Not saying he's been a turnover machine, but a lot of his turnovers have resulted in points, because when he does turn the ball over, it's either a pick six to Cal or the fumble to start the VTech game. You're putting teams in the red zone area.
yeah,
So I think they're going to win. I think they're trying to change the culture of coming out of a bye week. They had a team meeting, which means nothing to anyone on the outside world. If you lose, that team meeting was pointless. But
yeah,
yeah, they just got to come out and they got to try to establish the run. I've been saying that all season. They got to try to establish the run, and not like how the the first quarter of Cal where it feels like it's stagnating the offense where it was just slow. But just still keep that tempo that they like to run. But run the football and like I say, the defense just got to make tackles and shore up tackles and not let Louisville score points. And I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover.
I don't think I think they're going to cover the 4.5 too. I just Louisville hasn't been as impressive. We kind of didn't know what they were.
Mm-hmm.
We knew their big game was going to be that Notre Dame game. They played the game fairly close where they probably had a shot to win that ball game. So it's like, they're capable, but obviously that was like, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They lose that one and then they turn around and lose to SMU, who has been pretty good offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Then they kind of played lackluster last week at Virginia as well. So it's like they pulled out the win and didn't lose 3 in a row. But I just feel like offensively they're not where they want to be technically, where they're because we thought this offense could be pretty good. But it's like, I don't know, just the Canes, I think they had such a, emotional start to the season, some big wins, blew some teams out that they were way better than.
The bye week came at a perfect time.
Then you had the 2 like games where you could have maybe lost those games, but you found a way to win. But you still offensively have been, peaking on all cylinders. Cam's been great. So it's like you say, limit the turnovers, limit the interceptions or fumbles. Let the offense do what you do. Like I say, we know Cam's going to cook. So, like you said, can the running game get established to make it a more balanced attack than having to rely so much on Cam having to throw all the time? Mm-hmm. And I think once you guys can figure that out, like I said, that's just going to make the offense that much better. Definitely want to see your defense step up and play a little bit better than they played the last couple of weeks against Virginia Tech and Cal.
I just think that a lot of that has to do with health too, losing a lot of bodies, especially on that front four.
I don't disagree with that, but like I said, I just don't. Obviously, the tough spot is, okay, this is an early noon kick on the road, so you better bring your intensity out the gate, or like you say, you don't want to be down 14.
It's another sellout on the road, so they can't say people aren't there. That place is going to be jacked up at noon. A lot of bourbon being passed around. So hey, just come out and play, and I think they will, just because they have more leaders on the field. Like I say, it's just, can we get over the hump of starting slow after a bye week? And it's been the trend the last several bye weeks, the last several years, is they start off slow and then they just check out, which they could have checked out the last 2 weeks they played against Virginia Tech and Cal, and they haven't. So we just got to keep that edge. Hopefully they can keep that edge and just keep going.
Yeah, can they cover Ja'Cory Brooks, the former Miami Booker T. Washington star?
Right, a lot of Miami guys on that team.
He's been lighting it up for. I will say, he's been the major bright spot on offense. I mean, 572 yards receiving and 6 TDs. Yeah. He's been their go-to guy. So I know he'll be fired up to play against Miami. Yeah. Obviously,
Chaney as well.
Yeah, well, Chaney was obviously a former Miami Hurricane. Just Booker T. Washington product, Ja'Cory Harris. I wanted him in Gainesville so bad, man. Just didn't work out at Bama, and he's ended up at Louisville, and now he's doing his thing for the Cards. So yeah, I like to say, I like the Canes. I love the Canes still. So Canes with the win for me, buddy. Canes with the win. All right, what about the Ricky squad? What about Ricky squad? The team from out west, man. Are they gonna get a win?
Friday night at Duke.
Exactly, Friday night game at Dukieville, Coach Kville. I don't know, man. Like I say, you haven't seen them in a week. They didn't play very well in their last outing. The Cal team that you guys played was not the Cal team they got to win against. I'll tell you that much. That team stayed in Berkeley because the Cal team you guys played was light years better than what they faced in Tallahassee. So I like to say, Duke, they're undefeated. Manny's got them playing good ball right now. I don't know. Like I say, I think I would lean towards Duke on a Friday night at home. I don't know. Yeah. Florida State's got to. It's one of those things we've been saying all year. You got to show me something. You got to prove it to me that Brock Glenn, you can complete passes and win games. Y'all can get some semblance of offense going.
Well, we know,
and
we know one
I don't
thing.
know. Just
Duke's. I know they're at home, but we used to the verbiage of they're going to be blitzing off the bus. I think that's just a Manny Diaz defense in general, where they blitz a lot. And if that offensive line can't hold up, I think Duke's going to blitz them like crazy and cause turnovers. Now, on the flip side, I really don't know much about the Duke offense with Malik Murphy, but we know he's a true dual threat guy. If he gets in, and he's a big guy too. So if the Florida State pass rush can't get to him, he could easily have 150 and 100, 150 pass and 100 rushing if needed. And right now, until Florida State shows different, you got to pick Duke. You got to side on the Duke side. So.
Yeah, no, I was actually wrong. I forgot Duke lost last week for their first time. They lost to Georgia Tech. So the two teams, Georgia Tech beat Florida State, and they beat Duke. So like I said, that's the only comparable game. But yeah, Malik Murphy, he's been okay. I mean, like I say,
exactly.
When you think of this Duke team, it's different when they had Elko. I think last year they're kind of just kind of hot. Defensively, they were really good. But I mean, Manny's obviously he's a good D coordinator.
Yeah. No, Elko is just going to bring. They're just going to be disciplined. They're going to be. You see with Texas A&M, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to know where they need to be. They're going to be physical on the lines of scrimmage. With Manny, who the hell knows what Manny's doing up there? I really don't care or pay attention to it. But
I want to say Florida State. I want to say Florida State should win this game. Really, ultimately, I think they should win.
They got to show us different.
They have the better roster. They have the better players.
Yeah.
And you look at Duke, they played Elon, Northwestern, UConn, Middle Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech, man. That is a shitty schedule.
I'm going to tease Florida State up. I'm going to get that.
Wow. You should money line that thing, man.
Get that. Oh, I might do both.
Hey, like I say, and when I look at it, I'm like, they beat Elon 26-3. They beat Northwestern 26-20. They beat UConn 26-21. They beat Middle Tennessee 45-17. They beat North Carolina 21-20.
You're trying to get me to change my mind, but I got to see it. I got to see it first. I got to see it.
Yeah,
I got to see.
I'm gonna say I think Florida State is going to win this one. I do. I think Florida State. Now, I don't think they're going to blow them out or anything, but I think they somehow win. They might win a game 24-20 or something like that.
I can see that. I can see it going either way, but yeah.
I could too. I mean, like I say, it's going to be one of those things. Duke fans will be hyped up. There's a Friday night game and all that good stuff, So that'll be something to watch on Friday night before you get into the weekend festivities.
Yep.
Obviously, the other game is our boys, the Gators. We don't have to talk about it too much in depthly. The line has completely swung on this thing now. The Gators were a favorite. Now they're a 1.5 point dog. But like I say, I feel like there's no looking over your shoulder. DJ's the guy. You go make plays. I don't know what Montreal's status is. I haven't really looked at that, but I think Ball. I don't know if Webb's coming back or not, but Ball, Jacoby Johnson, those guys, they can run the ball well. Now Kentucky's obviously got a really good defense. They played really well defensively in a lot of games so far. But if the defense that we've seen these last few weeks since the bye week comes to play, then let's keep that consistency going there. Hopefully they've got some newfound formula that says we can play some ball on this side of the ball. I think Florida should win a close game.
And you're playing a bad Kentucky offense.
Exactly.
But on the flip side, you're probably playing one of the better defenses you'll play all year.
Right. Right.
I don't
know. Is Kentucky's defense better than Tennessee's? I mean, everybody's been talking about Tennessee's got this great defense. I mean, like I say, I don't know, but again, it's hard to compare and contrast. You got to let the season play out a little bit more. But again, Kentucky's bad offensively. The Gators are playing better defensively. It's Lagway's time now. Lagway's fully capable. I think they win a close game. I don't think it's gonna. I think they win like a 24-21 type game. Something like that.
Yeah, like I said, I think both defenses are going to come out to play. Kentucky's offense is just terrible.
Yeah, Vandergrift, baby. Brock Vandergrift. Let's see. Kentucky, 3-3 on the season. They lost to freaking Vandy last week, dog. Pavia, baby. Pavia magic.
I told you that last week.
Yeah.
I picked Vandy. I picked Vandy last week.
That was going to be one of those spots where it's like, is Vandy too high up?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
But
That doesn't
again,
surprise me.
it goes to show you, like I say,
Well,
this is how good Kentucky's
so
D. They
so
held it to 20 points. They didn't
but
like light it up.
but going into the game, it's knowing that you probably don't have a legit third string quarterback. How cautious are they to run
Yeah,
DJ?
DJ doesn't run anyways. He
I mean,
never
he doesn't
runs.
run, but I mean,
Yeah,
he has opportunities to run, and you probably should put him in those situations to where
yeah.
like a read option, even if it's just to pick up
Well,
4 or 5 yards. But
I wouldn't do it. I
you
would
can't
just
do it. You can't do
like I
it
said.
now. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean,
and I
I
think
wouldn't do it.
and that's the
They
thing
haven't,
where
they haven't done they haven't done it all year, so why do
no,
it
I think
now?
this is just one of those defenses you probably would need to do that just to throw them off a little
Right?
bit.
Yeah,
But
no, you could maybe design something
yeah,
like
but
that. Just
you
to,
you can't maybe 3 or 4 times if needed, like break glass in case of emergency. But I just don't see it. I don't know, man. In this one,
yeah,
I'm a lean.
Pavia. Go ahead.
No.
Who you
I'm a,
got?
I'm a lean. I'm a lean. Kentucky. Just the eke one out.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Gator hater. Gator hater.
Mhm.
Diego Pavia. 15 to 18. That's all he had to complete last week against
But
Kentucky.
he's not. He's not really.
That's
He.
that's what I'm saying. Is
That's what he
he
does
didn't
though.
like he's very efficient to keep drives going. They obviously
Yeah.
just they scored early in that
He.
game and
He's a
14 in the
true
first half.
Pavia. Just remember watching just bits and pieces of him last year. He's a true dual threat.
Oh yeah.
150 to 200 yards passing, and that 50 to 100 yards rushing is where he wants to be. And like you say, just to keep those chains moving,
Yeah.
to just get enough points. But yeah, I like I say, the Gators win wouldn't surprise me, but I'm leaning on Kentucky because I don't know what the hell's going on in Gainesville with the play calling.
Dang, Vandy, man. We know they should have won that Missouri overtime game, and then how the hell do you lose to Georgia State? It could be 7-0, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be
Mm-hmm.
that would be the storyline. Vandy and the service academies. What is going on in college
What is
football?
going on?
like
Speaking
then they
before,
get ball. They get Ball State this week, baby. They would be 8-0. Get this.
yeah,
They would be 8-0 going into #1 Texas when we come to their
yeah.
house. Game day
So
would have to be there, man. God damn.
so
That'd be
go
lit, man.
so
Dang.
going into this week, this is the first AP top three without Bama,
Yeah,
Clemson,
I heard.
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan since
Yeah,
2014,
yeah, I
where it
heard
was
that stat.
the #1 team in the country in 2014 was the Dakota Prescott, Mississippi State Bulldogs, FSU, and
Yep.
Oregon were your top three.
Yeah. No, I
That's
saw that
wild.
stat
That's
where
wild. That that
yeah,
that
those
shows
teams
you
have
the
been,
parity. That shows you the parity in football this year, in college football.
yeah, those teams have been running the roost and not hell. But here's the thing: all those teams you just named, they're kind of like hanging out right there in the top 10. They're just not in the
Oh
top
yeah,
four
for
or
sure,
five
for
right
sure.
now.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, they're still hanging out, but
Yeah.
there's other teams now like the Texases of the world. Penn State's up there, our favorite team. But no, like I say, I think the Gators. Hopefully there's no hangover from the loss. Hopefully they
Mhm.
can take whatever they took. Like, hey, we should have won that game. We didn't. This is where we are now. The season. Mertz is out. Defensively, we figured something out. Like, let's go play it back, Kentucky offense. Let's win this game. If the game was in Lexington, I would pick Kentucky. But the only reason I'll pick the Gators is because we're at home, and
Yeah.
so this is a game they need. This is a game that they need to get the win for sure.
Yeah.
Like I say, the two big time SEC matchups that we'll touch upon before we just look at some other key games that we like. Is Alabama Tennessee, man. Alabama goes to Tennessee. Tennessee won this matchup 2 years ago in Knoxville. That was really the first time they kind of knocked off Bama in a long, long time. That was when Jalen Hyatt went crazy for like 300 yards receiving. But I don't know. This year, you can't put your finger on where Bama's at right now because we talked about it earlier. Like they played like one of the most insane, ridiculous, like holy shit, this is the best team on earth in that first half against Georgia, where you're just like, what is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of come out in the second half and Georgia gets things rolling, and then you're like, okay, hell of a game. You're like, this was a clash of titans, Georgia and Bama, the two best teams in the country. And then Bama comes out next week and gets beat by Vandy. You're just like,
Yeah.
whatever. And then they come out and play kind of lackluster against South Carolina. So you're just like, all right, what is happening here? What is going on?
Yeah.
And now you see this Tennessee team kind of do the same exact thing. They could have lost. They could have been on a two game losing skid if the Gators would have pulled that game out to where you're like, okay, this Tennessee team is not as good as we thought. So, like I told you and Joe, in this game, I feel like I'm going to take the team who I think has the better offense, which is Milroe and Alabama, and then everybody can figure it out on defense. Because
I was just,
Nico
yeah,
Nico and that offense is not very good.
they're not
So
clicking.
they're not. So I like I say, I don't think this is going to be a blowout in any sense of the words. I don't. I think it'll be. I think it'll be back and forth. I think Tennessee will play better because they're going to be at home. Being at home is big, but it's not a night game. It's a 3:30 kick. But I just think Milroe and those guys offensively can kind of do what they did against Georgia, make some plays, and just have enough to get out of there
Four,
with a win, basically.
four is the difference. If they didn't have four, Bama's probably got 2-3 losses right now.
100%. Milroe's
I'm
been great.
Yeah, I'm taking Bama to win just because they have four with his dual threat ability. As long as he could run the ball and he has number 2 on the outside and Ryan Williams,
Yeah.
I'm going with Bama because, like you say, not sure what's going on with the Tennessee offense right now. They just, like I say, Nico just has happy feet. He just doesn't look comfortable right now. He doesn't look comfortable. Other than those 2 drives against you guys, he looks off. So I'm leaning Bama and Jalen Milroe to win.
Yeah, I like Bama. Like I say, even though they haven't played great since that second half of the Georgia game, I still think they have the capability of being explosive
Yeah,
with those guys on
I agree.
offense. So, like I say, Tennessee right now, Nico's not playing good, and then like Sampson's been solid at the running game, but that's a traditional style run, where I think Bama's D can maybe, contain Sampson from just going slap off.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to, do I think those
Can he make those
receivers from
throws?
Tennessee? Yeah, can Squirrel White
Not,
get loose? I mean, Squirrel White had a
yeah,
couple big catches early in the Gator game, then he was kind of non-existent.
yeah, because I feel like the Bama secondary will give opportunities to Nico, but they got to complete the passes because
Yeah,
he had shots down the field against you guys, and he was just overthrowing them or just he was just all over the place. So
yeah,
it's and then the week before it was the same thing. It was,
yeah.
hey, what's
The
going on with
question
Nico?
the question will be: have we overhyped Nico so far in his early college career?
Right.
Like I say, he's still young, but everybody's been talking about he's the second coming of whatever, generational, all that. He's got $8 million NIL deal.
I
It's just
think this is
he hasn't
you
lived
put,
up to the billing yet.
but you're playing against better defenses, and you're playing against defenses who have defensive coordinators who making $2-3 million a year. So they're
Yeah.
going to put you in spots and situations where you're like, all right, is that the right read? Is that the right read?
Well, I know there's been some other murmurs too, not like Josh Heupel's on the hot seat, but like just some of his in-game calls, some of his
Yeah,
play calling, some of his situational stuff has been like, "What are you doing, bro?"
yeah.
Like that fourth down call, man. He let the ball go. Like
Oh,
we were like, damn
yeah,
disrespect.
yeah. I was sitting there. I said, that boy got some
On your own,
cojones.
on your 10, but like what if you
Yeah.
mishandle the snap? What like he was playing a damn video game, dude. He was like, you know what?
Hmm.
I don't give a shit. Let's go. But
Yeah.
like I said,
That was
I don't know. I think, like I say, plus like even some of the play calls and some of his, like not wanting to run the ball, not wanting to stick to it, and calling, like you said earlier in the show, too many shot plays for Nico to take. When you just let's get the offense clicking,
just
let's
get it.
move it down methodically. Can I get a
It just
drive?
Sponge, it just kills me just watching games. Even we didn't touch on the Colorado Kansas State game. Even in that game, I'm steady like, why are y'all taking shot plays when you're trying to end the game? Like for
Yeah,
on the Kansas State side, Giddens was hurt, so they weren't able to run the ball, in that 4-minute time period to put the game away. But it's like you
yeah,
guys are steady throwing the ball. Every time the ball hits the ground, what happens? The clock stops. Even when you
yeah,
complete and you get quick first downs, the clock still stops enough. And it's just like, man, you guys are choosing not to like win the game. I mean, it was a hell of a game, but it just felt like at the end of that one, I was just like, come on, man. Like, someone try to win
yeah,
it. Let's not
yeah.
try to give
No,
it to the other team.
yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, we'll round out the major breakdowns of the big one Saturday night. The Georgia Bulldogs going to number one Texas Hook'em Longhorns, baby. Like I say, this is an anticipated matchup, and honestly, I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a hell of a ball game. My lean is Texas right now, just because they've been playing the most complete, I think, ball so far of the season. Georgia, had the loss at Bama, had that hell of a second half, where they back threw it for a ton. But then again, Georgia's kind of had some games where, like again, Kentucky, 13-12 win, against the Wildcats. They had the last week where they're in a slow back and forth, almost shootout with Mississippi State. So it's like, what is going on with this Georgia team? They don't have those guys that he's counted on with the Brock Bowers and the Lad McConkeys of the world. Their running backs are banged up. It's all on ETN now. So like I say, Beck's been kind of up and down. I don't know. I like Texas at home. I like Texas because they've been playing the most complete ball. I like Texas because they got two quarterbacks. If one guy goes down, just Texas has been really good.
Yeah, I like Texas this week. I just think Georgia just has too many injuries. You're down to your third team center, and with Mike Bobo's
That's it.
son.
That's it. Yeah, their O line. Yeah, their O line is banged up too as well. Yeah.
And then no Smile Munden. He's out apparently. And then you have no. I mean, you go through it. You have no Kobe Young, no Ra Thomas. I mean, those are two big guys you could be using right now. You really haven't. Dylan Bell had a great catch for a touchdown this past week, but he hasn't really done much. And I just think just too many injuries have just kind of caught up with them. Their defense has been, like you say, you can't give up that many points to Mississippi State. You just can't.
Yeah,
You got
a backup quarterback threw for 300 yards.
yeah,
Like that's Mississippi State's backup who got hurt
yeah.
in the Florida game. Now this was his second start, but again,
Oh,
he
Van
was the
Buren.
backup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Van Buren.
yeah, he came in. He got the starter got hurt in the Gator game, and
Mm-hmm.
Van Buren's come in the last 2 weeks, and he threw for 300 yards.
Yeah, I just think there's just too much going against Georgia right now, and it's just to a lot of adversity, even with all the off-field stuff still going on with Kirby and all of that. And then you had this past week where Kirby shoves Van Buren on the sideline. It's just it just feels like everything is just kind of caving in on them right now. I just like Texas to win this game.
Yeah, yeah. Carson threw for 459 in that game too against Mississippi State. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's still throwing for a shit ton of yards, but again, you're down to now it's just ETN and the freshman Frazier's as your backs because all the other guys, Branson Robinson's hurt. A couple of those other guys are banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Cash Jones is banged up. Yeah, the main guy who's been catching the balls has been Arian Smith, the kid out of Lakeland, who's like your speed demon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you just can't like Dylan Bell. Love it. Those guys, they're good players, but it's different without the Brock Bowers and the Lad McConkey.
You don't
So like
have
I say,
enough to
I don't.
win.
And here's the thing: not to even discredit Georgia, because Georgia could very well come in and win this game too. They're capable.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just like, oh, Georgia, they suck, whatever. It's just going off of what we've seen so far, and in my opinion, Texas has been the most complete team. They've been the most dominating. They've had different quarterbacks be the quarterback. Play.
Mm-hmm.
When Quinn went down for a little bit, he seemed a little rusty to start the game last week against Oklahoma, but then, like I say, they got rolling. But I mean, the question is for Texas is when you look back at their schedule too, when you do the look back, you're like, okay, they had the Colorado State win, they're terrible. They went and damn just thudded Michigan. They just groundswelled them, and we know how bad Michigan's offense was, in the early part of the year where they were playing their walk-on quarterback and all that. Then they had UTSA and Louisiana Monroe. So you're like, okay,
Yeah.
2 duck games. Then they played Mississippi State, who we know is one of the worst teams in the league. And then they played an Oklahoma team who's kind of bad. So this is going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be also Texas's real first look at, one of those top flavor, teams with a top flight defense. So, it could be the edge is why I give it to Texas is just because they're not playing in Georgia. If they're playing, if this was their first like road test SEC, the game's going to be different being at Austin than it would be at Sanford Stadium,
100%.
Saturday night, so, but again, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to just discount Georgia like they can't win this game.
No.
I like Texas.
Yeah.
I like Texas to win.
I just think it's just too much.
I think it'll be a close one. You think they cover the number? You think they cover the touchdown? Basically, 5 points.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like what about the over 56? Let's see. I'm thinking.
I can see it going over. I can see
Yeah.
Texas winning like a 35-36 to like 28.
Yeah, I was going to say 34-27, something like 34-28,
Yeah,
something like that. No, like I say, I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup. We got obviously two big time SEC matchups for Saturday in the 3:30 in the night window. So, what are your other big games that you're looking at that you're going to be keeping an eye on that
yeah.
you like?
One of the ones we talked about earlier, Nebraska at Iowa. I mean, Indiana,
And yeah,
Nebraska at
no,
Indiana. I'm
that's
curious to see.
that's an early window game. I like that one.
Yeah, curious to see how IU plays against a Nebraska team that's been decent this year. Not great, but just decent with Dylan Raiola at quarterback. Um, yeah, Iowa -6.5. Someone really likes Iowa, so I don't know, but yeah, we'll see, man. I like that game. We'll learn a lot about Iowa.
You mean Indiana?
I keep saying Iowa, Indiana.
I
Yeah,
know
Indiana. My bad.
Iowa
I don't know why.
sucks.
Yeah, they're pretty
You get
bad.
you got Iowa defense on your mind.
Yeah, probably.
It,
Go
I
ahead.
like one. I'll give you one that Joe just keeps hating on this team. This is like my undercover team that I think I might have to pick them this week too. The line's a little long. It's another Friday night game. The Pokes, Oklahoma State at BYU. I'm loving BYU right now, man. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. BYU's been
yeah,
hitting. They've been
hmm
winning games. Covering lines, all that. So
yeah,
you look at it. They've beaten a couple of decent teams. They beat SMU. They beat K State. They smashed Arizona last week. So
hmm
they to me could win that Big 12. You know what I'm saying? What's
yeah,
wild
yeah,
is the fact they don't play Colorado this year. We thought Utah was going to be the team. Obviously, they're terrible without Cam Rising. Cam Rising looks bad. He can come back for an eighth year. I think that man needs to just hang it up. I don't know, Cam. You've been playing for a long time, bud.
yeah,
But yeah, this will be that tricky game, Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State's capable, but you just don't know where they are mentally, head
yeah.
wise.
hmm
So if BYU can win that one, they got to they got to come to Orlando in a couple weeks to play UCF. Then they play at Utah. We've talked about them, Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. I mean, could BYU run the table and be your Big 12 champ? I mean,
I think
or
so.
would they even be? Who would I don't even know who they'd have to even play because I don't even know who else is stat wise, but who the number two team is when we all come down to standings when after they play each other because they're still gonna. I think it might be Iowa State, maybe it might be the team because they don't play them either.
Yeah,
So damn,
Iowa State's
how did they
undefeated. Yep.
how did they luck out? Like BYU didn't have to play Colorado or Iowa State this year in the Big 12. I mean
Yeah,
that's
Iowa State 6-0.
yeah.
Yeah,
They've been
they're
playing
looking
pretty
pretty
decent
decent.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have been blowing people out. I want to see them. Let's see. Let's look at their schedule. Yeah, they're both 1-2, and Texas Tech is 3-0 in the Big 12 as well. Yeah, they got Iowa State plays at home against UCF Saturday night, so that'll be a decent game. But
yeah, and they play Texas Tech
give
next
me
week.
yeah give me your next game that you want to see on the docket
Uh, let's see. I am
because I
the
got a
LSU
couple.
Arkansas game. Yeah,
Yeah, I want
LSU
to see because
Arkansas. I'm curious to see.
yeah, and the LSU bounce back. How does Arkansas come back from a bye week?
Yeah.
From the Tennessee win.
hmm
Um,
Who you got?
Your Michigan Wolverines are playing Joe's Fighting Illini.
That's gonna be
Michigan's actually a
ugly.
road favorite. Michigan's a road favorite.
Yep, -3. Yep. That I expect that to be like a 17-14 type game.
Let's see. I'm looking at that
Old
early
Big
window. I
Ten.
like. Yeah, the early window's got the Miami Louisville game, and that Nebraska Indiana. That'll be two good ones in the early window. That 3:30 window. Obviously, got the Bama Tennessee. You got that Michigan Illinois game we just talked about. None of the other 3:30 window games really. In your night window, obviously Georgia, the Gators, UCF at Iowa State. That's pretty much it, buddy. I don't really have anything else circled where I'm like must watch
Uh,
TV. The late game is
Zona, Colorado. Just
yeah.
because we know
Zona's been
both of their bad defenses, and it could be a high scoring game.
yeah. No, it definitely could and probably will be. I just Arizona. I told Joe last week. Arizona's been massively
Told you, man.
disappointing to me.
I told you without Jed Fish,
And
I didn't think they
no,
were going to
I
be good.
no, I know. And you kept the receiver quarterback combo, but it's just
hmm
not it. Just Yeah, you look at their losses. The K-State, they got whooped 31-7. They got beat by Texas. They lost by a touchdown to Texas Tech, and then BYU rolled them. So they're a 3-point favorite at home against the Buffs, but I don't know.
I like Colorado with that one to
I
win.
got Colorado
Speaking of
close.
surprise,
Give me some
hey,
money line.
yeah, I mean, look at Colorado. Look at Colorado's schedule. They could
Yeah.
possibly win out and still have a chance to play in the Big
No,
12.
that to be honest, that's who I think. I think it might be BYU Colorado. Now,
Well, someone
if you
has to
look at it,
be Iowa State. You get Iowa State's undefeated.
yeah, here's what's weird. They don't play Iowa State either. Colorado doesn't. How did this? What did the Big 12 scheduling? They got too many damn teams in there. But yeah, so
Well,
there you go.
Colorado has a conference loss, so it doesn't matter.
I know that's what I'm
Remember,
saying. You're gonna
Colorado
have
lost
to
to
hope.
BYU.
You're gonna have to hope for what I'm saying is like a tiebreaker situation. Is what I mean.
Sorry, Kansas
But
State.
yeah,
Colorado lost to Kansas State. But
yeah,
yeah. So right now you got to say BYU and Iowa State are the favorites to play in that Big 12 championship game. But like you say, other than
yeah,
that, that's pretty much it. I had Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. That's just more of
yeah. That'll be
whatever.
that'll be a old school.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgia game. Rudy,
Yeah.
Georgia
Yep.
Tech and the triple option. Not
So
anymore, but
do
I
you
didn't
have a
do a
top
top
12
12.
or no?
I didn't do it. I didn't do a top 12, but I mean, I could look at one and because it's probably primarily going to be pretty damn close to the. Did you do top 12 like as in the playoff spot
I
by
did.
picking your four winners basically?
No, I just did a top 12 with my group of 5 team in there right now. I know yeah, I'm not going to do all of that figuring out
We like I
conferences
said,
and all of that.
we could. Well, what we can do is in a couple weeks when maybe they release some other rankings or whatever. What we'll do is you basically pick your top four as who's going to win
The
each conference, and
conferences.
then you pick your 5 through 12. We
Yeah.
could do that like next week. But yeah, if I was gonna go give you my 12 right now, yeah, I would have Texas 1, Oregon 2. I would have Penn State 3. I would have Ohio State, Georgia, Miami. I would have just like the damn AP pretty much.
So
Alabama,
my top 12.
LSU. Yeah, I would go with the AP right now. So you tell me
Yeah.
what's yours. What's different than your poll than the AP poll? I guess.
My top. I haven't really looked at the AP. My top 12. I have
Well, let's compare it up. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I
Texas.
obviously got Texas and Oregon 1, 2. I
Yep.
got
Yep.
Ohio State 3. I just couldn't punish them for
All
losing to
right.
the number 3 team. I got Miami 4, Penn State 5, Clemson 6. I got BYU 7, Georgia 8, Iowa State 9, LSU 10, Bama at 11, and Boise State 12, just because I factored in the whole group of 5
Yeah.
thing. And then
Yep.
outside looking in, I have Texas A&M, Iowa. I mean, I keep saying Iowa, Indiana.
Iowa's your team,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. Pitt, Notre Dame, and the service academies.
Yeah. So you got Clemson at where?
I have Clemson at number 6.
That's pretty high. So you
I
got their one loss. You got
I
their
mean,
one
you take
loss.
out
Yeah.
week 1. After that, they've been pretty
Mm-hmm.
much dominating everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone they played. I'm not saying their schedule's been great, but hey, you play the teams that's on your schedule, and they only have like 3 or 4 ACC games left. Everybody else in the conference have 6 ACC games left. So Clemson's almost done with conference play compared to the rest of the ACC.
Yeah. They got Virginia, Louisville, Tech, Pitt, and then they got the Citadel in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Like I don't. This is why I put them in the playoff in the beginning of the year. I said Miami was going to win the conference and Clemson was going to be an outside looking in team
Mm-hmm.
because I love what my boy Cade and Pitt's doing, but I don't. They're playing with like fire in a sense, and
Yeah.
like
Like
they're
like I've
eventually
been
going to.
like I've been telling everyone. Everyone's like, why is this team ranked here? I was like, well, you got to put somebody in the top 12. You got to rank someone.
Well,
Do
no,
I believe
I
in?
just. Well, I guess here's the thing. Do I think Clemson's better than you have? You have them better than what? Bama, LSU. Who else?
I have them in front of BYU, Georgia, Iowa State,
Yeah.
LSU, Bama. It's Sponge. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
Bama and
I know.
LSU, Bama, LSU, and UGA. 2 of those 3 are going to have 2 losses pretty soon.
That's what I'm saying. They got to cannibalize each other. That's what sucks.
Exactly.
And that's ultimately what we said is those teams they're going to lose because they're going to have to play each other.
Yeah.
And so a Clemson team getting to play Virginia Tech and Louisville and fucking like Pitt, like,
but at the end of
they
the
get
day,
to sneak in there.
But at the end of the day, that's their conference. They can't control who's in their conference.
I totally agree.
It's not like the next 4 are Citadel, Tuskegee.
Well, they do play the Citadel on there. They do got them too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the next 5 or 6 aren't like teams where you're just like, it's not Boise State schedule. You know what I'm saying? It's not Army Navy schedule. Their conference is still their conference. I mean, it is what it is. So
yeah, no, like I said, my only disagreement is like I'm not going to put them up there yet. I'll let these teams cannibalize each other. They got the same win-loss record, so I'll keep LSU, Bama, and Georgia ahead of them because I think they're better than them.
Well, today, yes, but I think that's how you should.
Well, so you're ranking. You're already forecasting. You're futuring out already.
No, I just know because outside of the game against Georgia, where they look good.
Well, you're already giving them losses. Wait, you got them ahead of Georgia?
Yes.
How?
I just
they got beat by 30 in that game.
Hey, don't matter.
And you're already giving Georgia. Basically, you're justifying that they're better than Georgia because they're going to lose to Texas and they'll have 2 losses. So you're already forecasting.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. You're already forecasting losses. So Clemson is not better than Georgia.
No, I'm not really for. Yes, I know I should probably have Georgia in front of Clemson, but Georgia hasn't been looking great, and Clemson's been dominant since the Georgia game.
I'm just saying when you have
been dominant.
When you have the one variable of they played each other head to head and won by 30, I don't care that they've beaten Wake Forest, Florida State, Stanford, NC State, and App State. Like, give me a freaking break.
So
God, that is so bad.
On 10/17/2024, you might have an argument. By midnight on Saturday, the argument's going to be irrelevant. So it doesn't matter.
No, it's really and truthfully not even because so what you're telling me is that Georgia team, if they lose 34-31 against Texas, they're still not better than Clemson with 2 losses?
They got 2 losses.
Who gives a shit? That whole 2-loss, 1-loss is out the window. Let's talk about the best teams in college football.
So why are we putting a group of 5 team in?
Like don't ask me that. That's a dumbass question. Like we're putting a group of 5 teams because it's the rule. It's the rule. It's the committee rules.
Right.
What I'm saying is, if you're talking about best teams, and we're going off best teams again, a team that beat a team by 30, I don't care if it was week 1, and they lost to the number 6 ranked team in Georgia by a field goal or a touchdown.
So if Clemson wins the conference with 1 loss and Georgia has 2 losses, who gets in?
They're both going to get it. They're both going to get in. They're both going to get in if that's the case.
I don't think Georgia's getting in.
With the 2 losses?
I don't think they're getting in.
They will definitely get in with 2 losses.
I don't think they're getting
because that means they're gonna either lose. That means they're either going to lose in the SEC championship game or they're going to lose Saturday and run the table.
They're not getting in.
Are you crazy? Who else is getting in? Like a 2-loss SEC team is getting in. Like I know this is like again we're like 6 weeks away from like any playoff talk, and like we need to see the cannibalization of teams. But if
BYU, hold on. If BYU and Iowa State go undefeated and meet in their conference championship, are they not getting 2 teams in?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
Now you're saying I don't know.
The reason why I'll say I don't know is because I would say yes to that. I would say yes to that, and I would say the same if Miami and Clemson. So that's 4 teams right there.
Let's go ahead and look ahead. So if those two are automatically in.
I would say yes, both of those teams. I would say your Big 12 winner, BYU, and then if Iowa State is undefeated, they'll get in as an at-large team. I will say yes to that. Just like I'll say the yes to Miami and Clemson. If Miami runs the table and Clemson runs the table, Miami wins the game, they win the ACC, they're the top 4. Clemson will get an at-large bid. But if you're telling me that Georgia is only going to lose 1 more game, they're going to get in. They're definitely going to get in.
So you're putting in 4 teams from the SEC.
Definitely. Definitely.
How are you getting 4 teams in from the SEC?
I mean, I got to see the shakedown. I don't know who's going to be who. It might be Bama, Georgia. It's going to be Texas. I got Texas, Georgia, Bama in there right now for sure. I don't think LSU. Maybe it depends on what they do, but I don't. Because Tennessee, I think it's going to fade out. But I think that you got three for. I think Georgia, Bama, Tennessee.
Go ahead. You're not factoring in LSU. You're not factoring in Texas A&M in your conference.
A&M is definitely a factor.
So
they're definitely a factor.
How many losses does A&M have in their conference?
They got to play it out. Is what I'm trying to say. They have one.
How many losses does A&M have in their conference?
A&M's undefeated in the conference play.
Okay, so you're telling me if Georgia loses 2 games, A&M only, even if they just lost one, somehow LSU gets through with just 1, even 2.
Well, they got to play each other too.
Huh?
I said LSU and A&M's got to play each other, so somebody's going to lose that one.
Right. So there goes your 2. Texas, we figured we're assuming Texas is probably going to win.
Right.
So where does Georgia fit in all of this?
What I'm saying is, if they are 10-2, that means they either lose this week to Texas and then run the table and win the SEC. They're in.
So hold on. So, all right. Looking at their schedule as of today, show me their best win other than Clemson. Clemson is
they don't have
the best win on their schedule.
They haven't beaten anybody yet. They haven't played. They have Ole Miss and Tennessee left on the schedule.
Exactly. So if they lose to Texas, who else do they have to strengthen their schedule?
Number 18, Ole Miss, and number 11, Tennessee.
So hold on, you're banking on those 2 teams being there at 8 and 11, which we just said Tennessee probably lose to Bama this week.
I agree. They're going to be like 15 or 16, and then Ole Miss is going to be 18. Again, if they win those games, and they're going to be in the SEC championship game, is what I'm saying.
Georgia?
If they go 10-2, they will be there. They will be there.
Over who?
They will be there. If these other teams are going to.
If Bama goes 10-2, Bama's getting in the SEC championship game over Georgia.
I said Georgia. Not Bama. I mean, I'm talking Georgia. They run 10-2, they're going in because these other teams are going to lose. Is what I'm saying. A 10-2 team is getting in the SEC title game because Texas A&M and LSU, other teams are going to lose. They're going to lose one.
How many losses does Bama have in the conference right now?
They have 1.
And who did they beat?
They beat Georgia. Georgia.
So Georgia needs Alabama to lose 3 in the conference, correct?
Not 3. They just need them to lose 2. Well, if they have a tiebreaker, then it'll be 2.
Jesus Christ, Sponge. They need them to lose 3 times in the conference because Alabama has the head-to-head over Georgia. So
I don't know how the tiebreakers go down when it comes to this new SEC formula with records and rankings.
I promise you, head-to-head is one of the tiebreakers.
No, I definitely agree with that.
And you still need Texas A&M to lose 2. So you're just throwing Georgia in there, not factoring in. Texas A&M still has to lose.
Well, like I say,
Bama still has to lose 3.
I'm just letting you know that if Georgia's 10-2, we'll mark it down on the calendar. 10-17. If Georgia is 10-2, they're going to be in the playoff. If not, then I could be wrong, but we'll mark it down. But here's the thing: they're already going to be 10-2 because I don't think they're going to beat Texas this week, anyways. But if they were to run the rest of that table,
so
that means they would be.
It's only 6 spots. Because if you get the group of 5 in and you get the power 4, that's what, 5 spots right there? So you have you have 7 spots to get in.
Yeah.
So where are you
going to get? I already think Oregon and Ohio State are 2 other lock spots, and maybe even Penn State. So that's 3 more spots that are gone.
So you're making my point for me.
Like I say, it's looking like there's going to be 3 SEC teams in the thing,
and one of them not being Georgia.
No, I don't disagree. What I'm saying is, if Georgia goes 10-2, they're definitely going to be in the mix, in my opinion.
If we just said there's just say 6 spots left,
what I'm talking about is we don't even know because we're all talking about hypotheticals of shit. Iowa State might lose this week to UCF and be like they're gone. You know what I'm saying? BYU might lose. So again, we're talking way hypothetical, like BYU.
Not necessarily. They're the razor thin. What I'm saying
they're very.
They're on
here's
a
what I'll say.
razor thin edge. They're on a razor thin edge because
This
even
is
with
where,
2 losses,
well, here's where they're going to lose out. If 4 teams are going to come from, if 2 are coming from the Big 12 and 2 are coming from the ACC, they're definitely going to lose out. That's what I'm saying. Going into it, I didn't have that. I had the setup of there was only going to be one Big 12 team, Utah, and that was it. There was no Oklahoma State or Iowa State. So that was one spot back.
we're not.
I had the 2 spots.
We're not talking about preseason. We're talking about
I
into
know.
week 8 right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually happening on the field.
Now I can look at that and say, yeah, there could possibly be 2 and 2. So that's 4 spots that are being taken up. That's not where I had it like going into the season. So again, it could change. It could not change. We could have BYU run the table and then Iowa State fall on their face, or vice versa. BYU may fall on their face. Iowa State may fall on their face. You only get one Big 12 team, you know?
Not
I don't see
necessarily.
Clemson losing.
If one goes undefeated and one loses one, and the one that lost
No, I
one
know.
and beat the undefeated team, they still can get 2 wins.
I'm talking about falling on their face. I agree. Right now, it looks like they could get 2 in with 6 weeks to play.
You have to look at you have to look at the right now. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the right now.
Well, like I say, you're forecasting half the season that we've already had. First half of the season, we played 6 games. Now you're like, well, we're going undefeated.
Outside of the Clemson game, has Georgia looked impressive to you?
The second half of the Alabama game, yeah, that's it. They beat Auburn and Mississippi State the last 2 weeks. Like I say, now you got me being a freaking Georgia fan. Fuck Texas, let's go Dogs.
I'm not making you be anything. I'm just telling you how I see it. I have not been impressed with Georgia.
I don't disagree with that. We talked about. That's why I didn't pick them to win this week. All I'm saying is a 10-2. Nobody's even going to be listening to this because they can't even get an hour and a half into the podcast to even hear the best part of the podcast. All I'm saying is if Georgia's 10-2, circle it down. They're going to have a real shot to be one of the back half teams to get in the playoff. In my opinion,
if there's multiple,
they have to go 10-2 first. So they probably won't.
Calm down. If they have 2 losses, all I'm saying is their schedule is not as impressive as we think just because they play in the SEC.
Correct. No, yes it is. Yes it is. Versus a BYU or Iowa State.
If they both have 1 loss,
Clemson, it's not better than Clemson's. A two loss Georgia schedule is not better than what Clemson played. That's really the argument right there. A 10-2. All right, let's say a 10-2 and 11. Well, here's the thing. That's saying that Clemson's going to lose to you guys in the ACC championship game. How about that? So that's 2 losses for Clemson and Georgia's 2 losses. Who's better?
They probably still will reward them because they played in their conference championship game. Is what I'm saying. You're looking.
Are you serious? No, I'm saying who's better. I'm asking you.
A 10-2 Georgia. Does it matter?
Yeah, it does matter. Yeah, yes, because I want the best.
Why was Georgia not? Why was Georgia not in the playoff last year?
Because there was only 4 spots and they got beat in the SEC championship game.
Were they not?
And it was undefeated.
Were they not better than Washington?
If
you're going to play the who's better game and not what actually happens on the field, who's better? Don't answer the question.
They had the same record.
No, who's better? If they had the same record, who's better?
Georgia was the better team, but statistically, record-wise, Washington did what they needed to do.
Thank you. You're making my point for me.
No, I'm not, because if they had the same exact record and they beat your ass on the field, how is Clemson better than Georgia?
Georgia's not getting in. They're not getting in because of their conference. They're going to be cannibalized by their own conference.
If they are 10-2 and Clemson is 10-2, or Clemson would be 11-2 because they went to the ACC championship game.
Exactly.
So you're telling me that just because it's like 14 weeks later, we beat you by 30 on the field, we have the exact same record loss-wise, you're going to get in over me?
Hey, only because I'm not using logic doesn't mean the committee's going to use logic. They don't use logic. Clearly, the committee doesn't use logic. Clearly. And you're still. I
think this is a different committee.
No, you're still hoping that Texas A&M loses 2 games. You're still.
I don't even care about that. I don't even care. I don't care about none of that. I'm saying it. No, I don't. I'm not saying they got to get in the SEC championship game. Now I'm literally saying if Georgia finishes the year,
dude, you're not. It's called a thing called numbers. They only have
Yeah.
12 playoff spots, correct?
So what I'm asking you, so is Clemson in? Is Clemson in is what I'm asking you.
Let me explain. You
Okay,
keep
go ahead.
jumping
Count
on
them
the
up.
Clemson. I'm going
No, I
through
just
the
thought
numbers.
I just thought about it now.
The numbers. The
I
numbers
was including
say
Clemson.
4 teams are in automatically, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
4 conference champions. 4 conference
And then
champions.
the group
Yes.
of 5 is already in. That's 5.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
So how many spots does that leave?
7 spots.
So you're telling me there are going to be 4 SEC teams and only 3 at-large bids for all the other conferences?
I don't know. Maybe so. But what I'm trying to now I've completely changed the argument to where if there's one spot, like what I was just factoring in was 2 from the Big 12, because I said, okay, Iowa State and BYU, if they run the table and they play each other, they'll both get in. Then I was saying I think Clemson's going to run the table. They're not losing.
That puts you at 6.
Forget the numbers. Miami and Clemson, they both run the table.
You cannot forget the numbers.
Yes, you can.
Are the numbers. No, you can't.
Okay,
there's only 12 spots, Sponge. There's only 12 spots. So you only have 12 teams. You can't put a 13 team in. There's only 12 spots.
The numbers are the numbers. Clemson loses to Miami in the ACC championship game, gives them their second loss. Georgia is 10-2. Who do you put in for that last spot? Clemson or Georgia?
I don't even think it's going to come down to that, to be honest with you.
I don't either, but that's the hypothetical I'm throwing out there now. Forget the numbers and all that. What I'm saying is if it comes down to one spot remaining, one spot, the 11th spot, the 12th spot, whatever, and you have a 10-2 Georgia, they figure out how to navigate the schedule and go 10-2. Maybe they don't get in the SEC championship game, but they go 10-2. Their 2 losses are to Georgia or Alabama and Texas. They win the rest of their games. They're 10-2. Clemson is 10-1 going or 11-1 going into the ACC championship game. They lose to you guys. Miami's your ACC championship.
I think they would probably reward Clemson for playing in their championship game.
That's bullshit because they played a cake. They played a cake schedule compared to what Georgia played.
What has Georgia played this year?
I just said who they would have had to have beaten. They would have to have beaten Ole Miss and Tennessee to close out the year, who are technically right now 2 top 15 teams.
You're still hoping that Tennessee and Ole Miss have 2 losses.
They're going to be in the top 25. They're going to be in the top 25. Their record will be way better than what Clemson's beat. Their record will be better.
You're guaranteed.
Yes, they will be in the top 25. Again, their schedule is way better than what Clemson has played. Go look at Clemson's schedule again and tell me that Georgia's schedule is not as good as Clemson.
I know what Clemson's schedule is.
They beat them head to head.
The schedule is. I know what their schedule is. You don't have to tell me. I know what the
so
schedule
what I'm saying,
is.
You're going to reward an 11-2 team because they played for the ACC championship. That's fine. That's fine. That's where, like I say, that's where I got lost. That's where I got lost in the argument. Is basically what it comes down to is if Georgia and Clemson have the same record, 2 losses, and they actually played each other on the field, the team that beat them, screw that.
I don't think it's going to come down to that.
I know, but I'm just asking you, if it did come down to that, who are you taking?
I don't think it's coming down to that.
If it did, who are you taking? Because I know what you're going to say.
So how many losses does Tennessee have? Tennessee currently has 1 loss, right?
They got 1 loss to Arkansas. Yep.
They play Bama, Kentucky, Mississippi State. They play Georgia. So Tennessee. So you're telling me, and they still got Vandy at the end of the year. So you're
a 3-loss Tennessee team will be in the top 25.
Nope. Hold on. So you're guaranteeing that Tennessee's going to be in the top 25, where they potentially have
with 3 losses. 3 losses.
Potentially 4 losses. No. On top of the
if they have 4 losses, they will not be in the top 25. Yeah, they're not going to be in the top 25 to have 5 losses. They're not going to have 5 losses. That's the thing. They're not. They'll have Tennessee's looking at like a 9-3. I don't know.
How do you know?
I don't know that. But again, who cares?
You guarantee. You say you guarantee.
I said they're going to be. I guarantee they're going to be in the top 25. That's what I'm saying. So I guarantee Tennessee at the end of the year will be in the top 25. Just like I guarantee Ole Miss will be in the top 25 at the end of the year. Both of those, we could put a bet on it. We could put a friendly wager, a $20 bet that Ole Miss and Tennessee will be in the top 25 at the end of the season. $20.
Sure.
$20. That's it. So what I'm saying is forget all that. Even with that, Tennessee and Ole Miss are way better than what the hell Clemson's playing on their schedule. And you already know that. They're playing Louisville and Pitt.
Mhm.
Now that's a good win. Maybe Pitt will be undefeated still. Maybe that'll be. Then we can count it back. But all I'm saying is,
Hey,
if this is the
hey,
scenario,
the
this is the
standard is
last
still the
question.
standard in Gainesville. The standard is still the standard in Gainesville.
What
That's
does that
basically
have to
what
do
you're
with the
going. You're
Pennsylvania?
going off of.
What does that
You're
have to
going
do
off
with
the old stuff. It's 2024, dog. It's 2024. It's like you got to stop saying the SEC is the best conference when they're not looking like
It
the best
is.
conference at
It
the
is
moment.
the best conference. It is the best conference. It is. After 6 weeks, it is. Like, none of these teams in the ACC would want to play Georgia or Bama or Tennessee. None of them.
You're still on that shit, dude.
Who is good in the ACC besides you guys in Clemson?
It doesn't. Once again, you're like taking an argument that doesn't make sense because before you can use that argument, Sponge, there's only 12 spots. There's only just stop. No, just stop and listen. If there's 12 spots and 5 to 6 of them are already taken, there's only 6 spots left. What I'm saying is, if you have a one loss, just say Iowa State versus BYU, they both have one has one loss and the other one is undefeated. They're going to take that over a 2-loss Georgia. That's just what they're going to do. I'm not the one making the schedules. I'm just telling you what they're going to do.
I got you. So I pulled up because Bud does this. Bud does this every week. Bud does this every week. He puts out his top 12 projection every. I get it, but so does Josh Pate and everybody else. He's got 4 SEC teams in his. He's got Texas, Bama, Georgia, and 3. So he's got Bama and Georgia in there with Texas. So he's got them in there too.
Hold on. So currently he doesn't have Texas A&M in his playoff, even though they're undefeated in the toughest conference in America. Should they not be?
They still got 6. No,
are they not undefeated? Are they not
undefeated?
That doesn't.
Undefeated doesn't mean anything. This is a projection, like we said. We think they're going to lose. Is what the thing about it is.
Who is undefeated in the conference?
Texas A&M's undefeated.
Okay.
Texas is undefeated. Like what you're saying is you just got A&M running the table. Like, they're not going to lose.
Who said they can't?
Like, if they don't, then they will be in. They will be in.
They can't. Who say they can't? No.
That's why this is a projection. Nobody. Nobody said they can or can't.
What you just said, they can't. You're saying
I just don't think. I said I don't think they will. I don't think they will. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference. Of course they can. Shit. Anybody like BYU can run the table. Like Tennessee could run the table. Georgia could run the table.
As of week 8, I'm looking at as of week 8.
Yeah.
Who's undefeated in the conference?
Yeah, Texas A&M.
Okay. Is Georgia undefeated in the conference?
No, they're not.
So
they're not. What's crazy is it's like now if you have a loss, it's like there's a death nail now. Like, this is the new college football where 2 losses, you're good. You're still good. You know, it's like I just it's like I say, there's still too much to play out. We're arguing about something that we have no idea what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the fun. That's the fun part, and it's the funny part. You know, it's like.
But at the beginning of this, at the beginning of this, I said week 8. You went all crazy and went to the end of the season. I said week 8. I said week 8.
You know where this argument first started. Where did it first start?
It started off about the Clemson, Georgia rankings.
Right, exactly.
They're my rankings. I don't
care
about Josh Pate's rankings. I know about Bud Elliott. I don't listen to Bud Elliott. I don't give a fuck about Bud Elliott.
And what I'm saying is, I don't listen. I listen to them because I like to listen to what they got to say. But it's not like that. It's not like it's the whole deal. I just think they're my rankings. Exactly, and I disagree. They are yours, and they totally can be fine. I love them.
You went off the handle. You went off the handle about me.
Because after I thought about it, I'm like, how do you have Georgia behind Clemson when they have played each other and they got the same record? That was my only argument.
That's my ranking.
It's fine, and I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb. That's the only thing I disagree. We could disagree. Exactly. It's for fun.
Did
But
I
I
say
want to know
anything?
who,
When you
agrees with you or
when
not.
you went off the handle losing your shit, all I said was they're my rankings. They're
I
my
know
rankings.
that.
That's what I have.
You
And the
could have
reason
Miami number one. It is what it is. Like
I
I
did not have
don't.
Miami number one. And the
I was saying
reason
you
why I
could. You
said the
could do whatever
reason
you
why
want.
I had Clemson over Georgia because Georgia hasn't been playing that good. I get the whole head-to-head thing. I get it. They're my rankings.
Mm-hmm.
My rankings don't mean anything. Just like Bud
Yeah, I
Elliott,
know.
Josh Pate, Pat McAfee's, Kurt Herbstreit's. None of the fucking rankings matter until the end of the year when they play in the playoffs.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So
They still got to play 6 more
you
games.
going ape shit over my rankings is crazy. I don't understand
It was
why
just
you're going
that
ape
one.
shit over my rankings.
No, it was just that one stipulation. That's all.
No, it
And
doesn't.
then
It doesn't matter.
Then it turned into if Georgia goes 10-2. Yeah, exactly. Because they still got to play. Everybody's got to play these games.
You turned it into all of that. I didn't turn it into all of that. I just gave you
Well,
my rankings.
Because then once I thought about it,
and guess what? The rankings will change every week as they should.
1,000%.
So if I would have had Army and Navy at 5 and 6, you would have called me crazy for having Army and Navy at number 5 and 6
Definitely,
because they're undefeated.
Definitely. I would have called you crazy.
But there's a plenty.
I don't care that they're undefeated. It's about
have Army as their number 5 team.
Well, they're idiots too.
No,
yeah, exactly. That's just because you're undefeated. You sound like Florida State fans. Just because you were undefeated, we should be in the playoffs. Blah blah blah. You don't beat anybody good. I'm using them.
No, you said you said you, and that's not what I said. I said if I had them at 5 and 6, and then once again you went off the handle and said I sound like Florida State fans. I do not have Army or Navy in my top 12.
I know you don't. I'm using as a hypothetical. If you did, that's the argument. It's like we deserve to be in.
But no, because a group of 5 team is going to be in the top 12. So one of them can be the number 5 team in the country. Correct?
Possibly, but they won't be at that high.
It doesn't matter. You factor them in. They're going to be in the 5th spot.
They'll be in the number 12. They'll be in the 12. They'll be in the 12th spot.
It doesn't matter where they finish. They're going to be the 5th team in. Correct?
They'll be at number 12.
Sponge.
So they'll be in.
Will they not be automatic?
No, there's an automatic bid for. There's an auto bid for either a Boise, Army, Navy, group of 5. There's definitely.
So it almost doesn't matter where you're ranked. So that's why you're going off the hinges. It doesn't matter where you rank after 5. Only thing that matters is if you host a damn playoff game on your campus. Because the second round, you're going on the road.
I know you're going to a bowl game. You're going to a bowl game.
So 7 through 12 really doesn't matter where you're ranked. You just want to get in. So having Clemson over Georgia is not that far-fetched and crazy.
It's not, because you still had Georgia in your top 12. So again, all I'm saying is after I thought about it, I'm just like, how is Georgia behind Clemson? That's all I'm saying, because they play. We could circle around 100 times. It's your rankings, but I think you're wrong because they played each other.
It doesn't matter.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is
12 is 12.
Where the argument where I got to the argument was, and this is what I want you to answer, if they play it out, and we're coming down to that 11th or 12th spot, and Georgia is 10-2 and Clemson is 11-2, who gets that last spot? It were all the numbers and everything matriculates, and Texas A&M's in, or this team's in, or Army and Navy, one of those are in, and it comes out to one spot.
I think they're out. That's just my opinion. I can have my opinion. I think they're out.
You can. I think it's
don't make it seem like my opinion is far fetched. So
it's not far fetched. But
if they
I want to do it so we can argue with it until the day is blue. I mean, it is what it is.
We'll see. I don't
even think it's going to happen. That's what sucks. This whole 25-minute argument of like I would love for whoever watches to be like, who agrees with who, but I mean, one's an SEC lover and one's an ACC lover.
I really don't care who agrees with you or me. All I'm saying is I think Georgia's out because of the numbers. That's all I said. That's all I said.
I know that
because I think they're going to be out, and I still had them in my top 12. You're acting like I had them at like 30.
No, it's. I understand. It's not even that. I know you had them in your top 12, but what it boils down to is my biggest question was, if you're a committee member and they both have 2 losses, who gets in? That's all I'm saying. That was the question. This should have been the question from the original spot, but again,
But this is
We got all the way here to get there.
But it's going to be like this every week when you do your rankings. It's going to be like that every week.
Not necessarily, because you're not going to have like this. You don't have that many head-to-heads where it's going to be like, well, that's going to shake itself out, is what I'm saying. So I think Georgia's going to have more than 2 losses. So that's the whole sad part about the argument. I think they're going to lose 3 times.
Hold on. Did I not say that from the beginning? Did I not say I think Georgia's going to have more than 2 losses? I did say that.
Yeah, I know, you probably did. What I'm saying is, what I said is if they have 2 losses, I threw out the hypothetical.
It didn't matter because they're going to have more than 2, and you kept rambling on about if this scenario. I don't think they're going to be there.
That was my point. I don't think they're going to be there. That's what I'm saying. You're forecasting out is what I'm saying. You're already projecting. So you're already like these other guys.
After you started the whole argument, all I said was, as of right now, I don't think Georgia is playing like a top 10 team. That's all I said.
I know you said that.
Off the hinges.
I went off the hinges because they played the number 1 team in the country and lost by a touchdown.
Dude, there's been plenty of times where teams have been ranked and people have ranked them over teams they beat because of how they look several weeks down the line. Let's not
so Bama's sorry too now. So Bama's sorry too now. Bama's sorry too now. So
I didn't say that. You're saying
no, you're saying that because basically we're overrating Bama because that's their 1 loss was to the number 1 team or number 2 team in the country at the time was Bama. They lost to them. They didn't play. They haven't blown. I mean, shit, they did blow Auburn out.
Has Georgia looked great this year outside of the Clemson game? Answer the question.
I thought they looked pretty good in the second half of that Bama game.
I said game. I didn't say half. I said game.
Well, they looked pretty good in that game in a loss. I'll give them. Yeah. All right. Yeah, they look pretty. They look pretty damn good.
How did they look against Kentucky?
They beat the shit out of Auburn.
How did they look against Kentucky?
They struggled against Kentucky.
How did they look against Mississippi State?
Kentucky would be Clemson right now.
How did they look against Mississippi State?
They scored 45 points.
How many points did Mississippi State score?
31.
And we agreed that Mississippi State may be the worst team in the country.
Maybe, but I mean, when I look at who Clemson's beaten, I can't give them that love. I don't care if they beat App State and NC State, who scored 60 points in both of those games.
Did we not agree at the beginning of the
lowly Florida State team?
Did we not agree at the beginning of the podcast? You beat who's in front of you, and you you beat them like you're supposed to beat them.
Yeah, totally. Like I do like the way Clemson's playing.
Has Georgia done that?
They've just won. They've beaten who they had to beat. They've beaten who they had to beat. You know, I just think the teams they played are better. Is all I'm saying. And then they played the team that we're arguing about. They played each other.
Yep, Mississippi State, lights out.
Mississippi State will beat freaking App State and NC State and Wake Forest.
Yep.
Yeah.
But do they?
I don't know. They don't play, so we'll never know.
They don't.
So
you beat who you put in front of you. Clemson can't control their conference schedule. You using your logic of Georgia lost to Alabama, but they look great in the second half. I can say Clemson looked good in the first half against Georgia, and they got blown out in the second half.
They still lost by 31, though.
It's the same logic.
Not really. Not when you lose by 31 versus losing by a touchdown.
I'm talking about you with your halves bullshit. You're talking halves. I'm saying games.
The game counts as a half. You played well in the first half, and maybe not in the second half. It's a full game. Like, yeah, they didn't look good in the first half. Yeah. But what I'm saying is Georgia lost by a touchdown to Alabama. Clemson lost by 31. It's the game was still.
I know what the score was, but you're the one talking about they looked great in the second half, but they still lost. A loss is a loss, right?
Yeah, well, not really. No, that's not really true. Because when you lose by 4 touchdowns, it's different than losing by. Okay. So you're telling me there's a difference. All right, you're telling me there's a difference.
I gotta go. Like, subscribe, share. I gotta go. Some of us gotta go to work because Sponge will keep giving his. We'll be here another 2 hours, and he's not listening to what I'm saying. But he hears me, but he's not listening.
A loss is a loss.
I seriously gotta go.
A loss is a loss.
Deuces. Like, subscribe, share.